Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Business Growth Strategies podcast. My name is Manny Martinez. I am your host, and this is the podcast where we show you how to grow your business. In today's episode, we're stepping out of the norm a little bit as I sit down with Kyle and Dave, who are both business owners, and we talk about measurable ways to hold your team accountable, as well as Kyle's 4 pillars or levers for business growth. I don't care what kind of business you own or run, we feel as though every single one of them has an opportunity for growth. And tracking along with us today here on this episode is going to help you along that path. So we're going to get right into it, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Business Growth Strategies podcast. For over 20 years, our team has been utilizing digital marketing tactics to help businesses generate more leads, close more sales, increase customer retention, and make their team more efficient. We're excited to share what we've learned and help you grow your business.
Because we're recording, and we got chips that are going to crunch in the microphone.
They're going to be really good on the podcast.
And Manny doesn't have his headphones on at all. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not prepared. We're just gonna roll with this idea. So here's the deal: Kyle is here in person right now.
It's so exciting.
Like he's a real human
with chips.
And he's eating his chips. This podcast. Oh, it's Utz too, dude.
Yeah.
It's Utz. He's going local.
I'll handle the sponsorships. Thank you.
Sorry. I didn't mean to step on that.
We don't have any podcast sponsors right now.
Where's the camera, Manny? Does he have a camera?
I'm looking at that one. I just found the camera.
Oh, that's his camera right there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet.
We don't have any podcast sponsors, but when I need a great afternoon pick-me-up, I choose this kind of potato chips.
Utz. Everybody knows Utz.
Everybody knows Utz.
In Lancaster County,
I would have gone with a more Y-based U. I would have called them Yuts.
Utz. I think Yuts is offensive in about 7 languages.
Yutses?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
No.
Don't say it again, dude. Don't say it again. We're going to get kicked off YouTube.
So I can't believe that Kyle is here hanging out with us in person from the ATL Hotlanta. Sorry.
I can't believe it either.
But here's the deal. So Kyle and I hop in the red car today. And we fly ourselves over to Mechanicsburg, which is kind of Harrisburg, you would agree, Manny.
It's one of the burgs. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, right? And then, it's kind of in the Lancaster, overall metro or Harrisburg metro area. They kind of,
They're all intermingled.
Right, yeah. So we're over there hanging out with Shank or Shanks.
Shank.
And the owner of Shank, who he told us today is kind of on his way out. He's
Third
what did he say?
generation.
He said third generation on his way out. His son is taking over, I believe.
Yeah, so there's a whole network. There's a family network. They've got sons and cousins and
right, which I think is kind of neat.
A family business. Yeah, it's super cool.
Especially because they've been around since 1917.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So he is third generation running this company. It's crazy.
That's
and they
awesome.
do all the screen printing and the embroidery for Yingling and
Hershey Park
and Crayola. I think they're working on right now. So I don't think they have it yet, but they're almost there.
Huge.
So here's the cool thing though. So we're sitting there at this table, and the owner, Mr. Shank, says multiple times that we have this challenge where we kind of let our employees do their own thing. Like they kind of just go.
Right.
And he was talking about this need for accountability, right?
Explain that. Just go.
So
yeah, I think it's like it happens with businesses all over the place where it's like we've got these initiatives, we've got these things that we would like to have happen, and these wouldn't it be cool ifs, and then it's like we start these projects, but nobody can really get it across the finish line, and that's super commonplace. I think it's why businesses in general don't scale up, and in most cases, and it sounds like in their case, it's this we're trying to boil the ocean sort of thing. We're trying to do so many different things at once, which is why our approach tends to be hyper focused on like what's the one key initiative that we can really take on, figure out how to grow it, how to measure it, how to improve it, and then from there taking whatever the next key initiative is and kind of building outwards.
Yeah, and like right now, what I'm sitting there kind of listening to that and thinking about our own business right now, and there's always a new like number one top thing. Right now we want to find our next 10 customers. That's our big goal.
Yep.
It's right. Not to date this podcast, but right now we're in the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, and well, not just our next, but our potentially last. Like there's only 10
for the Conklin Media brand. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're trying to like find them, and it's interesting because it feels to me a little bit like we are slower in bringing clients on because we won't take on like a $2,000 website, which I would have taken on in 2017 in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. Give me 30 of those suckers and I'll build them myself over the next 2 months, and there's my mortgage payment, right? Yeah. That's launch mode. But now we're like a little more picky. We want the bigger stuff. I don't know. Well, we probably can't talk about the really big one that we've been talking about through.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but yeah. So there's opportunities there. But here's the thing. So I have all these like things out right now. We want to do this. We want to do this. We want to do this. But there's no accountability structure that I've put in place to make sure that any of that actually happens.
Right.
And I think what would be kind of cool today is if we talked about different accountability structures that maybe you had in the restaurant world, maybe you had in the martial arts world, and what I've had in like the lead gen world in GMHV. Because Get My Homes Value, we had 60 people. Like you can't have unless you have VC money and you've got like coffers, you can't grow a company organically to 60 people and not have accountability structures. And we did have them, but we just haven't implemented them here at all, really. Yeah. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to go through that.
Yeah, let's do it. It would be tough for me to talk about that code. Give me examples as to what it is.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, what it is that you're looking for.
I think you'll,
like
you'll
what
find
parts.
that it's way easier
so
than
Manny.
you think. Yeah.
So Manny.
Yeah.
How many people did you oversee? Like the people you oversaw, and then the people under them, and the people under them in the world of large retirement community. Chefing. Is chefing a word? Chefing? That almost sounds
I think it's
inappropriate.
It's pronounced with a V, I think.
Like, hey Kyle,
let's go chefing this
weekend.
weekend.
You want to come over? You want to come over to my house tonight and do some chefing?
No, it's cheving.
Cheving?
It's French.
Oh, cheving.
No, you just mumbled that. You just said
cheving.
Nah.
Cheving.
I like to be referred to as Chef.
Chef.
My name's Chef.
My name's Chef Manny.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so like how many you had? Did
direct
you
reports? 25.
Okay, and then they had under them.
I mean, not direct reports, but they gave direction. Like those were all of my cooks.
Yeah,
and then they gave direction to some people. I mean, okay,
100 people.
Oh yeah, in
Servers?
total, yeah. Oh yeah,
like
for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So my question to you is like, how did you measure? What happened when somebody was like a resident was unhappy with the quality of food or something, or like somebody wasn't showing up to work, or
I think I can ask a more direct question.
Yeah, go for it.
Which is like, did you have a favorite cook that worked underneath you? Like, did you have a best one?
Oh yeah. Well, my right hand was my sous chef.
Okay,
sure.
But so say you've got 10 of the 25 cooks that are working as your direct reports, like in a line in front of you.
Yeah.
Could you rank them from best to worst?
100%.
Okay. Based on what criteria?
Skill level, attitude, reliability.
Okay. So I think those are, when we talk about setting up like performance objective metrics, those are the things you kind of have to determine. Like one of the things I've got a background also in like the fitness industry. And one of the things, because I was into CrossFit, just like anybody who was into CrossFit will tell you they were into CrossFit. well, but like nobody's shy about it.
I'm a part of a cult and I love it.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that they did really well, though, is they go, okay, we're going to improve your fitness. But in order to improve your fitness, we have to decide and agree as a group how we're going to measure fitness, right? Because if you and I and, 20 other people all wrote down our definition of fitness, without that agreed upon definition,
It changes. Yeah.
we're all aiming for a different mark, right? And if that's the case, then one of the things that like we come up with here, one of the things we have done is we have gone like, okay, as a business, like what is our North Star for right now? What is our true north? Where are we actually headed to? And that allows us to make some decisions as we kind of go through the daily operations of our business, even without like daily accountability of like how'd you spend your day and what were your hours that kind of stuff. It at least gives us like did you help us, and this is something that sort of everybody has to answer for themselves, is like, did you help us move towards that North Star? Which, like, if you were to go around our office right now and say, like, what's our business's goal? I'm pretty confident that everyone knows.
Everybody does know, and that's on purpose.
Right.
It's super intentional.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you start to go, okay, well, the measures that we're tracking, and I think this is probably where we'll spend a little bit of time today, the measures that we're tracking are lagging indicators, right? They're things like revenue and profit and number of clients, right? The things...
What happens after
I take action, right? And as a result of those actions, these things probably, I can say with some degree of confidence, are going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I'm measuring my performance by lagging indicators, there's a time delay. So I can't go, okay, well, I didn't get any new clients today. I've got to do something different tomorrow than I did today because I didn't get any new clients
100%.
today.
I love that you're going here.
Right? So what I've got to do is I've got to measure things that I have complete control of the input, right? Which we call leading measures. So lead measures are, how many outreach emails did I send today? How many cold phone calls did I make today? And those are the things that in a well-designed system, the lead measures point to and influence and are direct, the better the correlation is, the better the lead indicator is.
So on that note, what's like the worst sour cream brand you could possibly put in a thing?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Let me ask you, is there a difference between different types of sour creams?
Not much, no.
Okay, give me something where there's like an off-brand where one is sucky and the other is great. Cereal?
Peanut butter. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is a good one,
okay,
sure.
this is perfect. So
Yeah.
is there real peanut butter in a peanut butter pie?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so this is great. So was the peanut butter pie amazing? Yes or no is the lagging indicator, right? But the type of peanut butter used in it is a leading indicator. So I think that's where you were going, and I'm kind of stepping on your
No, I think
your
that's
thing
exactly
a little
where
bit. But like, so you can control as the chef ahead of all those other chefs and all those other. You can control the end result partially. It's one of the the leading indicators. Is by, did you use this type of peanut butter or did you use the junky Surefine watery stuff? And right. I don't know if that's a good one or not.
And how accurately did you measure, and how like all of those things play into it. And there's I think some of them have greater degrees of correlation with the outcome that we're pursuing. So say that to go back to like the marketing agency business growth example, if I'm making cold calls or if I'm following up with active leads, that is a really strong indicator of how I'm able to affect the lagging indicator of new clients, right? What is probably indicative of it, but to a much lesser degree, is, did I post on LinkedIn today? Well, yeah, I did. And is it possible that posting on LinkedIn could lead someone to see my post, could lead someone to think this guy knows what he's talking about and I need help with my marketing, and so I'm going to reach out to him, and so I'm going to schedule a call, and so I'm going to become a client? Like, yeah, it could. But posting on LinkedIn is not nearly as correlated a lead indicator as outreach to warm leads.
100%. Yeah. And like, even so, we used to measure specific things that we knew translated into our goals at GMHV. So we had a 40-person cold calling sales team. Half of them were dedicated to initiating conversations. And then when they got into a conversation with someone that was like really high end, like they felt like that person was actually going to be able to invest in the program, they would transfer them over to a closer. So Karen was one of our rock star starters. She could cold call anybody and get them interested in having a conversation with a closer. She wasn't a closer. She doesn't want to be a closer. Like, she wanted to be that person to get on the phone with that new person and get them excited and then transfer it over. But we knew that the longer the conversations the starters were having on average, the higher quality, because we measured it all, the higher quality the sales would be when the closer actually closed them. So we rewarded the team that was doing the starting, like the cold calling. Yeah. We rewarded them based on how long their average, talk time was per call. Awesome. So we tracked all that stuff,
which is not something, by the way, because you're constantly going back and forth between the lead measures, the lagging measures as a result of those leading measures, and then kind of taking it all the way down the path to like the real desired outcome. And when you sat down, and created your sales processes initially, I can guarantee you that no one sitting around that table, no one in leadership went, all right, guys, if we just get our starters to be on the phone with
more,
people for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But then when you actually start to go like, oh shit, there's a really strong correlation here between how long these people are on the phone and how likely they are to convert to a new client. So now you go back and you can say like, hey guys, as a result of this, but then the trap that you got to fall into is like the sharks and ice cream problem, right? Like,
don't know what that means, but okay. I can't wait to learn more about.
So
is this like licorice sharks are in my vanilla ice cream that tastes like blueberry?
But the correlation, it's a correlation causation.
That's what I want. I want blueberry flavored gummy sharks in my vanilla ice cream.
That sounds disgusting.
like Swedish fish.
Inside your ice, they would harden up. No,
I know. And then they would melt in your mouth and get, my
terrible.
Goodness. Wow.
Okay, so ice cream sales and shark attacks are correlated on a ridiculous basis, right? Like, as ice cream sales increase, shark attacks also increase. That's true. It's fact. You can look it up.
Well, never heard that before. Okay. That's wild.
Okay. I may need to have this cited for me, just
please,
for the record.
I'm going to explain to you why you don't need to have it. Because when do people buy ice cream? When it's warm outside. What are people also doing when it's warm outside? They're swimming more in the ocean than they are in times when they're not buying ice cream.
Okay, you don't mean like global ice cream. I was thinking global ice cream sales.
Okay, we'll take it regionally or locally. It doesn't matter. The idea, what we're talking about is correlation without causation.
I get it now, yes.
So it may just so happen to be that people are more likely to convert to being a new client if they're on the phone longer. But is it really longer times that lead to, higher sales? In this case, I would say yes, it probably is, because it allows people to feel more comfortable, et cetera, et cetera. So I can see where the causation exists there.
I have another lagging leading, though, that may support your thing. So we also found, we had an incredible programming team that did all this crazy stuff with our phone system. And it was a VoIP system when they first kind of came out. So we were like creating software for it, like custom coding stuff. But we did a speed of speech. And Matt Self, who, worked with us for a long time and we actually communicated today. So Matt did this study to find out average words per minute on the highest closers. There was just a raw data point.
Words per minute spoken?
Yes. Okay. The faster someone spoke, the higher their closing percentage was.
Oh, that's wild.
Without a doubt. Every time.
I would be really interested to see because I believe it, right? Because what you're dealing with when somebody speaks very quickly is you're dealing with somebody who is communicating to you, I'm enthusiastic about what I'm selling to you. I am
confident
and I'm knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Right. Because I can blah, 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 right. I would be really interested to see what the like stick rate beyond 30 days or like buyer's remorse statistics are on those fast talkers.
And I wish we would have done it. We could probably do it now because I still have all the data. But where we measured that was we wanted people to stick, so we put them through this Agent Success Center program. These were real estate agents that were buying the stuff. So we went through this Agent Success Center thing, and we knew that for every session an agent would have with our internal team, it would increase, and I forget what the exact percentage was at this point, but it would increase their average subscription length because they were doing the education, they were learning more about what they, what we had and all that kind of stuff. But I think the whole point here is in your business, regardless of what kind of business it is, there's things that you can measure, and you have to be careful not to just measure the lagging indicators, the sales, the ROI, the whatever. You have to backtrack it and figure it out. Like with SEO, SEO, we don't want to do SEO for somebody, which is search engine optimization, which is ranking in the free section of Google. We don't want to do that for somebody until we have data that we know that the keywords we're going to try and get them ranking for are actually converting. We talk about that all the time. But then backing it up, we know that the leading indicators of success in SEO are a great piece of content combined with links. If you don't have those two things, you're never going to have your lagging indicator.
Right.
You're never going to have the ranking.
I remember we had to kind of drive home the same point with when I first opened up a kids martial arts school. It was one of those like didn't know what I didn't know about business in general sort of things. But I had a couple of business partners who had owned schools for longer than I had. And I remember there was this massive push among our different locations to get new members, right? Which like you run a karate school and you go Makes sense. Let's get new members, right? But and there were incentives built in based on the new members and all those sorts of things. But when we actually looked at it, the profitability over a long enough time horizon of some of these places that were super focused on getting new members was actually significantly lower than the locations that focused more on retention, right? Because it's not so much a game of just getting new members if all you're doing is pouring water into a leaky bucket, right? Like if you're just getting new members and people are quitting, getting new members and people are quitting, getting new members, then like you're not growing, you're just staying static. And so if you incentivize someone on getting new members when the metric that really matters, which is the profitability and how much you're actually taking home, meaning that like if I can get a kid to stay in the program for 12 months, rather if I can just double the length of time that every student stays with me, then I've doubled my business, right? There's 4 ways, and I would love Dave's input on this, because in my mind, there are 4 ways to grow a business, to grow any business. Number 1 is if you grow the number of leads with all of these other things held constant, if you grow the number of leads that come in and your other things, which I'm going to tell you in just a second, stay constant, your business will grow. Right. The second thing is if you grow your conversion rate, the number of leads that you actually turn into customers, then your business will grow. If you grow the margin the profit per customer per transaction, right? So if you can get customers to pay more or acquire them for less, your business will grow. And if you can increase the frequency with which people buy, which is what we're talking about when we're talking about retaining karate students, because we're talking about that family making 12 payments to me, a frequency of 12 versus a frequency of 6, all things else held constant. Like those are the only 4 levers I can pull. I can get more leads. I can convert more leads to customers. I can make each transaction more valuable, either by making it cheaper for me to do it or by them paying more, or I can increase the number of times that they buy. There are literally, in my mind, feel free to jump in, no other ways to grow a business. That's it.
Yeah, 100%.
So when you're talking about like performance indicators, if what you are doing can't directly be tied to one of those things, I will do this and it will help me get more leads. I will do this and it will increase conversion rates. I will do this and it will increase value per transaction. I will do this and it will increase the retention rate or the number of things that people buy. don't do it. Like
Don't do it.
It's not like it's not going to grow your business.
Kyle said something to me last night. We were, obviously Kyle's in town right now, lives in Atlanta, and all that. I'm going to Atlanta. I can say Atlanta, right?
That's the name of the city. Yeah.
Even though but you live in a city inside of Atlanta. It's kind of like a Venn diagram.
No. There are very clear limits to where Atlanta ends and where Alpharetta or Canton or Roswell, where these cities start. There are signs. They're posted everywhere.
Right,
and they go,
sure.
you're leaving Atlanta.
Yes.
And
so it was funny because he was telling me how irritating it is to be in this area because you don't really know where you are because like Lancaster, you would call Ephrata Lancaster, but it's Ephrata.
Yeah.
But it's Lancaster.
Yeah.
Like you can say either one and you're correct. So we're going and he's like why do cities have Venn diagrams up here? It's crazy. And then he saw on my GPS my address in my GPS says East Lampeter, which is technically where it is, but it's a Lancaster address with the U.S. Postal Service, and you would say Lancaster or East Lampeter, and you're right.
if I wrote a letter and addressed it East Lampeter,
It would probably end up at my house as well as if you wrote Lancaster.
it's ridiculous.
It's the area code that matters.
So I forget what we were talking about there, but it was
You were. I don't,
he's here. He's here from Atlanta. We were talking last night about something that somebody was looking to do in one of the projects that we're involved in, and Kyle literally said, "I would rather him do anything but that." Meaning the project that we're talking about is one that doesn't really fit that scope.
Well, it's it's a gross like dismissal of opportunity cost is the problem. And that's the thing. Is like there are so many things. Like with any of those 4 levers that I described, if I double them, then I grow my business. And if I double 2 of them, then I 4x my business. And if I double 3 of them, then I 8x my business. And if I double all 4 of them, meaning like I get twice the leads, I convert them twice as well, each transaction is twice as valuable, and people stay twice as long, then I have 16x to my business.
Arguably, there's also a compounding interest effect there too.
100%. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's exponential. As I double or increase any of these things, there's so much value. And then we can get into stuff like marginal cost versus fixed costs and stuff like that, which I think is probably at least worth.
Is that your college degree coming out there?
No, it's
no, you moron! It's common sense.
No, I spent 4 years in Athens, Georgia, drinking beer and chasing girls around. I have no idea what I learned in college. If it's there, it is against my will. If it's there from college, it is not because it's not because I sat there taking notes. Like this is all stuff that like from running a business. But when you have a lever that you can pull and you can increase something 10% and you could focus on something completely different, right? Let's say I make it 10% less expensive to acquire every customer, or I could double the number of leads, right? Like which of those is a better fit for my business?
Right.
Doubling the number of leads, again, all else held constant, because if I double the number of leads and now I can't convert any of them into customers, now we're moving 2 things and we don't have
I think shiny object syndrome happens a lot with people that have entrepreneurial mindsets, which is a challenge in our organization because we intentionally hire people here that have entrepreneurial mindsets. So what happens is shiny object syndrome kicks in. Somebody sees some idea and they get so fixated on it, and it's an ADD. The opposite of what most people that don't have ADD think ADD is they're distracted, but also ADD people get super hyper focused to a point where it's unhealthy on one thing. And then so you get so focused on this great new thing you're going to do, and you don't even research the other opportunities that could be out there that would hit those things. So, and I think that's what happens a lot with people in our world is they get that new idea. And they're like, this is freaking amazing. And they just want to make it happen. And they ignore all of the actual opportunity that exists.
I have a conversation with my kids all the time. And we talk, and this is like the karate teacher in me coming out. But like, I tell my kids all the time, like, discipline is the difference between, is choosing what you want most instead of what you want now. Right. And it's really, really easy to come up with an idea, like you're saying, and go, oh, that sounds like a good idea right now. But by doing that, by pursuing that opportunity, I'm foregoing what would really make a big difference, right? Because I've got however much time I've got in the day. I've got however much bandwidth, however much energy, however many resources I'm willing to allocate towards whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. And for every minute that I spend doing that, it's a minute that I'm not spending doing this, right? So when my daughter gets pissed off at me because I tell her that she has to read her book, before she goes to bed. And so, no, she doesn't have time to go watch YouTube videos on her iPad because she still has to take a shower. I go, okay, well, when you got home and you spent 30 minutes like swinging the cat in circles, like,
yeah, I hear you.
You were giving up that time. And I understand that was a complete waste of your time as you see it now. But what you did is you chose in that moment, you chose what you wanted right then. And now you don't get to do what you want to do most, right?
Absolutely. Can you spit out those 4 levers for me one more time?
First, before he does that, can Kyle be my dad?
I mean, you can call him daddy. I don't know.
You can't call me daddy. I was telling Dave, this is probably my favorite thing that I'm doing lately. I want to make my kids impervious to losing.
I love this, by the way. Yeah, this is
I
great.
want my kids to be so comfortable getting their teeth kicked in and getting back up and like running it back and doing it again. So what I've started doing, my daughters are at an age now where they really like to play board games. And I really enjoy it too, but we'll play these board games and, largely they are games of chance rather than games of skill. So, we have no idea who's going to win. If we play games where there's any skill involved, I absolutely dominate my kids every single time.
I do the same exact thing.
I absolutely
Yep.
destroy them.
Yep.
Right? But what we do when we play board games is I'll go through and I'll go, oh, mommy won that time. Royce, you lose. Daddy loses. Charlie, you lose. And you could tell at first. I used to do it with kids that I would teach karate to too. And like parents would lose their minds and be like, that's not necessary. You didn't have to remind them that he lost. You're just going to make him feel bad. And I would say, actually what I'm doing is desensitizing them to the feeling of losing and making it as comfortable for them because we're going to move on, right?
Which is literally the opposite of our culture today.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Like, no, you lose. You didn't win. You don't like my daughter just played basketball. And they played, because there were only like 15 girls that registered for basketball. So there were only 2 teams. And so every single Saturday, they would play the exact same team. And on that other team, there was this girl who was just an absolute unit. I mean, like just a rock star. Like she was hitting like fadeaway jumpers in week 1. And
She's
this girl
7'11".
yeah, I mean, just like just
at
making.
7 years
I mean,
old.
like crossover dribbles and like, I mean, just putting everyone to shame.
That's awesome.
My daughter's team won 1 game, and it's when that girl was gone. She was on like a trip with her family or something. And then at the end of the year, and like, I'm not going to get up on too high a soapbox here, but at the end of the year, they're like, all right, well, our trophy ceremony is this week. And I went like, for what?
Where's the line between desensitizing and having it be okay? Like, because I don't want them to be like, I don't want my kids to feel like I'm hyper competitive.
Yeah.
Like I'm so competitive. I hate losing. I don't want them to think that it's a
You needed Kyle to be your dad.
I'm okay.
Like, I want him to be my dad.
I just don't want them to be devastated by it. Like,
Okay,
there's a
understand.
difference between being motivated and being like, like, I'm totally comfortable with that. And I think to answer the question that I think you were about to ask is like, how do I strike the balance between like,
You want them to really want to win.
you take winning
yeah.
and you go like, and we're very clear with our kids about like, it's not necessarily the scoreboard at the end of the game that I'm super concerned with. It's when you went out there, was it the best possible version of you? And like my daughter one time, she was up late doing something and she showed up the next day at basketball and she was just sloppy, just like kind of walking all over the place. And we were like, and we had a conversation. My wife and I sat her down and we're like, hey, that wasn't the best you today. Like it just, you didn't bring your best. And you could tell she was kind of like, oh yeah, you're right. But then, and it wasn't it's attacking the action or sort of addressing the action and not having it be a reflection on the person. I'm not saying you're sloppy. I'm not saying you're lazy. I'm saying the way you performed today was miles away from the best version of you. And so that's unacceptable. right?
And we can do that within organizations,
100%.
You know, within business organizations, But what I love to do, so I always say to people, like, you know, you don't want to fire yourself. Like, I haven't fired somebody in years; they fire themselves. And when someone comes up to me, it's funny because I have it happen from time to time in our one-on-one lunches where somebody be like, "Well, yeah, I was just worried because I really kind of, you know, messed up that particular campaign, or I like this or whatever," and I'll be like, "Dude," or "Dudette," whoever it is, like, you're going to hear from me with some kind of a written, like, hey, here's the expectation, and it's going to be tactical. It's going to be measurable. Like, there's going to be things on that list that are like, this is exactly what we need from your position. And we're going to meet in 30 days and see if that's what happened. And if you don't achieve those things, then you're going to end up firing yourself. And I learned that from a guy, John Fraunfelder, that I worked for years and years ago. And I loved working under his leadership. But so that's that tactical specific like thing doesn't hit the personal side, which is your point. You know, your performance has nothing to do with how much we like you as a person, but you have to be, I kind of describe it too. I think a really good, at least for me, you know, to have a business be successful, you have to get from this side of the football field to this side of the football field. And one has to be able to run on a smooth surface. There can't be holes in the field. And all of the positions within the organization that we need to make that happen are these holes. And there's holes, they're like minefields all over this football field. And the people that we have are filling those holes. And you can't have them creating a dirt that piles up too high, but you can't have the hole half filled or people are still going to trip and sprain their ankle. They have to be able to run smoothly across that field. And the people that you have in each of these holes have to match what we need done in each of those areas. And I've had that analogy too, where like, unfortunately, like I can think of 10 people right now in my brain. Like, unfortunately, person A just wasn't filling that hole the way that it needed done to create a smooth surface. And they could be trying as hard as they wanted to, but sometimes the talent isn't there. I had a debate on Facebook the other day. Somebody said, well, anybody can be anything they want to be. And we should encourage everyone to be anything they want to be and encourage them and give them the government support to make that happen and all those things. I responded with, I want to be in the NBA. And I think you probably aware of this actually, Manny. I think we talked about it before, but like, so I am 5'5", 5'6", according to a thing that I did last night, by the way. I may have grown a half an inch at some point.
What shoes were you wearing?
Manny, you've seen me now in person. Like, my 5'8" is a legitimate.
I don't know. I think it's a 5'7".
I don't think so.
I think it's a 7. I think
I
you got
tried
an inch
so
on me.
hard not to stare when you walked in the door this
You're
morning.
a little
to try to
taller
figure
than
that
me.
out.
You're a little tall, but you're not. I don't think you're 5'8".
I've got like.
Well, I'm 5'8",
Maybe.
so when we're done here,
I feel like I've got like 6'3" energy though.
Oh, you do. You do.
of that, yes, that's great.
That's amazing. So I'm not going to be in the NBA. I'm 42. I'm overweight. It's just, I'm not going to be in the NBA. I wouldn't have been in the NBA when I was a 22-year-old. It's not going to happen. This person literally feels in their heart of hearts that if they put me in the right program, this person said this to me, if they put me in the right program, I could absolutely be in the NBA and compete.
Like right now? Yeah.
Sometimes the brain power for the task isn't there. Sometimes the physical nature isn't there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I could be a power lifter. I believe I could probably enter the geriatric powerlifting competition. And at 45 I could be a famous power lifter. I could set some world records. I could probably be in a short man strongman competition if I wanted to. Like I could work my tail off to that, but I'm not going to be in the NBA.
So in the EOS framework, which is a business operations framework, one of the criteria that they use when they're evaluating people for jobs, they call it GWC. And GWC stands for get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it, right? So like if I put a job in front of you, the G is like, do you understand what I'm asking you to do, right? Like, do you have an understanding of what this job is, what it does, what it's meant to accomplish. Do you get it? Right.
As we go through this, can I ask that we give specific examples for a business that can do so? Like if they were to watch this, they could follow along and say. So in that instance, is that a job description that team member is signing off on to say they have an understanding of what it is?
Say that Conklin Media is hiring a new SEO specialist.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So do you get it? Do you understand what SEO is, how to do it, the tactical elements of how to make web pages rank higher in Google's organic search results? Like, do you get it? Like, do you have the knowledge? Next, do you want it, or are you training to be in the geriatric powerlifting? Like that's. Do you actually want to do this? Because we've all experienced either for ourselves or seen people who are perfectly capable of doing a job, but they just don't want to, right? Like it's not the right time in their life. They just don't have any interest in it, right? They've got the capability. And then the capacity sort of refers to like bandwidth, right? Like if we took Peter, who runs our paid search department, and we said, "Hey, Peter," or if Peter came to us and said like, "Hey, I'd really like to expand my horizons and I'd like to do SEO too," right? Peter gets it. Like he understands what SEO is. He is absolutely smart enough to learn the tactical application. He obviously wants it because he came to us and said, "I want to do this." Yeah. He doesn't have the capacity. There's not enough hours in the day for him to do what he needs to do now and to add that in, right? So even if you've got the ability and the desire, like I would love, okay, perfect example for me. Personally, and this is not just in a professional setting, but I would love to train for like I used to compete in like CrossFit competitions. I loved doing that. It was really fun for me to go in and like, I'd work out really hard and like, let's see who can exercise the fastest. It sounds stupid when you explain it, but it was really fun.
Got it.
But I've got a job that I care deeply about. I've got 3 kids that I care even more deeply about. I've got a wife that I care even more deeply about. And I don't have the bandwidth to go and train the way that it would train for me to go and do CrossFit competitions. So I don't, like in order to do that, it would have to be at the expense of something else in my life, So if you evaluate someone on those 3 criteria, like, can they do it? Do they want to do it? And do they have the margin in their life to do it? Then like you end up with a pretty good idea of, if that person's going to be a good fit.
Yeah. And unfortunately it's like, I feel like today it's gone this way of if you tell someone they don't have the capacity, it's now an insult to them as a human. When
Michael Jordan couldn't play baseball,
he also couldn't play basketball in high school. So it's huge. But yeah, so going back, Kyle. You hit those 4 areas. Manny wanted you to go over them again. So increase the number of leads.
Right. So we're growing a business, right? There's 4 levers you can pull. 1, I can get more leads. So let's say that I've got a business, and let's use a real example. Let's say that I've got a karate school, right? And I get 20 new leads a month through all of my lead generation sources, through putting, flyers on counters and running Facebook ads and running Google search ads and SEO. And we've got great relationships with the elementary schools and we've got student referrals. So through all those different sources, I get 20 new leads a month, right? And I convert 25% of my new leads or of my leads into new students.
And Kyle knows that because he's tracking it, because he set up spreadsheets or he set up something to actually track. Because if you can't measure, you can't expect what you don't inspect. So if you're not actually, and it's not inspectable if it's not written and measurable.
Correct. And I'll touch on that in just a second because I think it's super important to talk about like how that data is actually not only generated but also used, because there's so much data that gets just tracked arbitrarily because it's like, well, we feel like we should be tracking data, but it's not instructive. And I feel like if data is not action oriented and instructive, and you can't derive your next set of actions from the data that you're getting, then what's the point of tracking the data in the first place, right? So if I get 20 new leads a month, I convert 25% of those into customers. That means I get 5 new members every single month, right? And then the margin, so each of those people pays me, let's say $100. I make $100 profit per month on each of those people. And let's say my average student lifetime expectation is on average, I keep students for 12 months, right? That means that each customer has a lifetime value to me of $1,200 because they pay me $100 a month and they stay for 12 months. Each lead has a value to me of $300, right? And the way I got that is because I convert 25% of my leads to customers. My customer lifetime value is $1,200, so divide that by 4, 25%, and now each lead is worth $300 to me. Now that's really interesting information, right? Because let's say that I'm running Google ads, and let's say that it costs me a certain number of dollars or cents or whatever it is to get someone onto my web page, right? And then of those people, a certain percentage put in their name, phone number, and email address and have become leads. Well, if the cost per click times the conversion rate of the people who land on my site is less than $300, I need to do that to infinity. I need to do it as many times as I can, over and over and over and over and over again, as long as they're as long as I can do that for $299 or less, I need to do that, right? Yeah. So, and that's what I mean about data being instructive is if I set that as a baseline, if I go, okay, I get, 20 new leads to convert 25 to members, they pay me $100 and they stay for 12 months. Well, what happens if that goes on and on and on and on and on and on, and then all of a sudden 1 month, I only get 12 leads? Okay. Something has broken in my lead generation mechanism, right? So when I'm tracking data, when I'm tracking numbers, it allows me to set baselines and to set expectations. What ends up happening, and to a certain degree, when you're first starting out, if you're taking on any kind of business growth initiative, is you're going to kind of ballpark things, right? You're going to kind of go like, I think I can generate this many new leads. I think I convert this many to customers. But as time goes on,
we call that mining for gold here.
Right,
We often refer to it that way.
And as time goes on, we can get much more precise with our projections. We can get much more precise with how we respond to variations in the actual results. And we can start to look at, I launched this new Facebook campaign, or I turned off this Facebook campaign, and my lead volume did not decrease. Let's say I turned off Facebook and I'm still getting 20 new leads a month because, maybe I'm spending time doing other things. Well, all of a sudden now the margin to acquire a customer has gotten better, right? Like it's cheaper for me to acquire a customer. So it's all of these factors play with each other, right?
And it's interesting too, because I don't want, if you're a business owner that's successful and you're listening to this is all stuff, you already know, but I would challenge you, because we get challenged here. Like, are you doing it?
Right.
Because we all know it. We all know what we're supposed to do. I was sitting at my desk earlier today and thinking about I know that we're doing the things we need to do this stuff, but are we really doing it the best that we possibly can? And we're not, we're not internally, because we can always get better, but we need to start to track all of those different elements and things. And I think that that's the point of this whole, episode is there's technology out there that helps you to automate a lot of this tracking and stuff. And if most business owners who are over the age of, say, 55 likely they have no interest personally in doing it. It's too complicated. There's too much to learn, but you have to have people on your team or consultants or someone around you that's actually going to help you to do that. We had another situation today where consultants got brought up a lot, but they were consultants that didn't actually do any of the tactical work, right. And we kind of pride ourselves on, we consult and advise and then do it. We execute, that's kind of what you need to have in your corner, are people that can actually execute.
If information were sufficient, everyone would be millionaires with
100%. Yep.
I mean, literally,
you have to execute.
Is there anyone in the world that does not know how to get six-pack abs? Every single person knows how to do it. You eat less, you work out more. It's not difficult theoretically to do it. And that's why, and I think that, Dave, to your point, there's technology and there's resources, but there's also advocates and support systems and people that that make it their job, and to some degree, to your point, there's an element of like the mechanic's car gets fixed last, but that's what we do. We literally do this for businesses all day long. And we probably need to get a little bit better at doing it for ourselves. But, I'd say that that's fairly typical of any organization. Like, Manny, how often are you cooking like chef quality meals for your family?
Oh, well, for myself, never. Like, I'm still the mac and cheese with hot dogs and hot sauce guy. Like,
Well, yeah,
everybody else
that's
eats.
because it's all your son eats.
Hot sauce, yes.
Have you heard this story, by the way?
No.
I think we finished the podcast with this because this is classic. So, Jody and I, did we already tell this story on a podcast? I don't want to.
I haven't heard this story.
So we've said
I'm gonna go deep.
pre
Okay.
babysit.
Right.
We talked about.
Yeah. So my wife Jody and I wanted to have Manny's kids over for an evening and hang out with them, and we watched movies and played pool and did whatever the heck
Had a
else
blast.
we did. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with them and just awesome kids. But Manny gave us this warning because we were like, oh cool, like what are their favorite foods, and we wanted to have this fun this fun night, and that's why last night we had one of the Morgan kids over. The Morgans are friends of mine.
Yeah.
We had one of their kids over. Reese was over, and she wanted hot dogs and marshmallows on our fire in the fireplace.
awesome.
So that's what we did last night. We had venison
awesome.
hot dogs and marshmallows. So Manny's like, Dave, I gotta tell you something, because I was like, he was like, all my son is going to eat is pizza. And I'm like, oh, cool. What's his favorite kind? Well, it's not just the favorite kind of pizza. It's that he will only eat pizza from Sam's Pizza, which is a restaurant in Corryville. And he knows.
We have gotten pizza from probably a dozen different pizza shops. He doesn't even have to try it. Just looking at it, he knows. And we've gotten him to try other pizzas in the past.
knows.
Nope. He knows right off the bat.
That is item number 1.
How old is he?
He's 5.
Okay.
Item number 2, not just chicken nuggets.
Dinosaur chicken nuggets.
No, you cannot. No. How dare you?
Tried that once. That was...
The Tyson straight up chicken nuggets, which there's another layer to this that we learned.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
The Tyson chicken nuggets with Frank's hot sauce, original, cannot have any gross stuff on them. No gross stuff is allowed.
No gross stuff.
So
What kind of stuff is gross stuff?
when you make the chicken nuggets, if you microwave said chicken nuggets and you don't use a paper towel underneath, it makes gross stuff, which is kind of like the non-crispy.
It'll
create
toasted-
condensation on the bottom.
Yes.
It'll be a little tiny bit soggy.
He picks each nugget up and looks for gross stuff on it, and if it has gross stuff, he puts it aside. He will not
even
touch
if
it.
it's a little tiny black speck.
Yeah.
He's done.
So
He's out.
so we had the Frank's hot sauce. So I thought, because it was classic. He takes a little bit of hot sauce and dips one of the non-gross stuff nuggets in.
Did you make some nuggets that had gross stuff on them?
Yes, we didn't know about the gross stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like we just made the nuggets and gave it to him.
You didn't tell him
and then
about
he
gross?
and then he
No,
then
I
he
forgot
picks it
about
up
the
and
gross stuff.
he inspects each one and he goes, "This has gross stuff on it." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, buddy." And I'm looking, what is gross stuff? And he points at it. I'm like, "Oh, I get it."
and
So then we made him in the air fryer, which he didn't like at first. He was like, "No, I don't want you to do it that way." But then I was like, "Look, will you just look to see if it has gross stuff on it when we do it in the air fryer?" And then he loved them. That's when he loved it.
Let me just dig into the whole hot sauce thing. He won't eat his pizza without Frank's hot sauce. He won't eat his chicken nuggets without Frank's hot sauce.
We used to punish my kids by making them eat hot sauce if they
I
lied
think
or
that might
talked
be
back.
how this started.
Because he liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taquitos. He used to eat taquitos. That's not in the food group for him anymore. But
I'm not. I am not being a jerk here. Is that a Cuban thing? I've never heard of that.
Taquitos, it's like rolled up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a tortilla
little-
rolled up with like toppings inside.
It's
it.
almost like a little
It's kind of fried.
burrito type.
Nope.
thing.
Never heard of it.
Super thin. Like
I need to be more cultured.
they're really
Okay.
good.
Anyway,
He doesn't
Kinda
eat them anymore.
Hofsnots.
Fosnots. You're getting Maple Hoff and Fosnots mixed up here.
All right.
We'll learn. We'll get there.
Fosnauts and red beet eggs.
So
tomorrow.
anyway, Frank's hot sauce with literally almost everything that he eats. Frank's hot sauce.
Yeah. So he dips the nugget in the Frank's hot sauce, and it was classic. He dips it. What just happened? Did something break? Am I breaking
broke.
stuff?
Nothing, bro.
I don't think it broke. There's a light on the floor.
Wow. Okay. Holy cow. So he dips it in. He bites the hot sauce, Kyle, and he goes like this. He goes. And it was like a speck of hot sauce. Okay. But he's like.
Does he do this all the time?
No.
And I'm like, dude, are you okay? And his sister goes, he's just being dramatic.
He's trying to show off like he's
Like
he's a man.
Like he's a man. He's eating the hot sauce. So I
But he
take
eats it on
He wants to
everything,
he wants to show everybody how much of a man he is.
yeah. So I take a nugget off of his plate, and I said, this one has some gross stuff. Can I have it? And he's like, yeah. And I dip it in like a whole like I smother it in the Frank's hot sauce, and his eyes got huge, and he's like, that's too much. And I popped it in my mouth, and I ate.
And you never break eye contact.
No, I just munched that, and he was like, oh my gosh.
Hey, you asserted dominance. That's-
And then he said, my dad sits on his chair and watches TV all day.
Yeah, they asked him what I did. He was like,
My dad, he sits on his chair. And
I don't even
watches
have a
TV.
chair. We have a sectional in our living room, and that's it. Like, and I don't even watch TV.
yeah.
I love kids.
It's hilarious.
All right. Well, this was a good one.
This was fun.
It
Yeah.
was. That was good.
Appreciate
So
you guys.
get ahead of it, right?
Get ahead of it. Like, measure it.
Well,
Yeah.
decide what
Break
you're
it down.
Yeah, I mean, here's the 30-second takeaway. Decide what you're going to measure. Decide where you're going. What are the lagging indicators? What are the leading indicators? The things you can do on a regular basis that you can measure. Did this get done or did this not get done? It's not doesn't have to be binary. It can be on a continuum, right? How many sales calls did I make today? Not did I make sales calls today, right? So decide what your leading measures are, the inputs that lead to the outputs that you desire. Start measuring those, start tracking those, make sure that the inputs that you actually are measuring actually map to the outcomes that you want, and then iterate over and over and over and over again. Cross the finish line, no half-built bridges, and give us a call.
And make it happen.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Kyle, I'm
really
so glad
appreciate
you're
it.
here.
Yes, it's exciting to have you in the house, dude.
All 5'8" of me.
5'8" of you, 5'7" and a quarter.
We're going to measure you.
Please do.
We'll have the results of that next time. Thanks, guys.
Peace out.